What follows is something different from my usual video reviews. It is a video preview, a paid Kickstarter preview of a game called Yashima. The game is on Kickstarter right now, or will be on Kickstarter. It depends on when you're watching this video, I guess. Or was on Kickstarter, it really depends on you. The game, at some point in time and space, receives the Kickstarter treatment. In this video, I am going to tell you how the game works, and I'm going to tell you what I think about the game. The game is a combat game for 2 or more players. The theme is Japanese-oriented, but do not expect to learn much about traditional Japanese warfare or samurais. It is a fantasy Japanese game. It seems to be inspired more from Japanese cartoons, action movies, fantasy, and manga than anything else. Which, for some people, like yours truly, is a good thing, because I like that type of over-the-action crazy stuff where people jump impossible heights, they throw blasts of energy that human beings really should not be able to, and they do spectacular stuff. I think it's a fun theme. Yashima definitely captures that theme. Now, let me tell you about the mechanics so you see how Yashima does that, and at the end I will tell you what I think about the game. Each character in the game is represented by a card that indicates the basic stats of the character. For example, here you have the karma pool, the size of the karma pool, size of the hand, and speed that the character can move up to, and also possibly other special abilities. There's also another card for each character giving you more details about the abilities of the character. This character is the Fire Priestess, so her effects are based on setting things on fire and making them explode. This is a card that I like very much. Of course, you also have then a miniature. Keep in mind this is a prototype, but you have a miniature that goes on the board, but here you have the area with information about what your character can do and the present condition of the character. Each character has a tome of special effects, we could call them spells for want of a better word. During the game you will use effects to flip pages of your tome, and when you flip a page, new actions, new spells will become available, but at the same time other actions will become unavailable, because you can only use the effects that are available in your tome when you are using the effect. So only the effects that are presently visible in your tome when you want to use a certain effect. Each character also has a small deck of action cards. Action cards will give you a karma value that the card is worth, an attack value that is used when the card is used to attack, area covered by the attack, and possible other effects of the attack. These cards, however, are not the only cards that you will use. You also have in the game 4 decks of cards representing animal spirits. There is a deck for the tiger spirit, a deck for the dragon, which is a deck that I like very much, a deck for the tortoise, and a deck for the phoenix. Each deck plays differently, has different abilities. At the beginning of the game, you select one of the animals, you get the corresponding deck, here we have that of the dragon, and you mix the cards in together, you shuffle the cards together with your basic cards to form the deck that you will use during the game. This means that this card in one game can fight using the tiger spirit, another game the dragon spirit, and this of course is something that adds to replay value of the game, to the customization value of the game. Some cards can also be used for defense purposes if they have that icon. The deck that you form by shuffling together these 2 decks is key to your victory, because it also represents the number of health points that you have. Your total health is the number of cards that you have in your deck plus the number of cards in your hand. If you go down to 0 cards in your deck and hand, you are knocked out. When you're knocked out, you're not necessarily out of the game. There's a procedure that restores you, gets you back in the game, and you can get another chance at influencing the outcome of the game. Still, the point is that to win the game, you're trying to force the opponent to lose cards and to go down to 0 cards. At the beginning of each turn, the players need to determine the actions that will be available to the players. It does not determine which actions will be available to each player specifically, but just which actions will happen in the turn that is just starting. Sort of the players are studying the universe and seeing what the options and possibilities are. There is an attack token and a move token that will be on the table at the beginning of each turn. Then players will also receive tokens, and these tokens have a move side and an attack side. Players choose the side that they want to select secretly, they put it down on the table and then they reveal it simultaneously. In a two-player game, there will be 4 total action tokens on the table. In this case, we are going to have 3 moves and 1 attack in the turn that is starting. It could have been 2 attacks and 2 moves, so it could have been 3 attacks and 1 move. Again, the cool thing is that you do not know exactly if you're going to be able to use the actions or not. So there are some decisions that you need to make. There are some push your luck situations and some gambling decisions. After the actions have been decided, players draw back to their hand limits. So this is when you replace cards in your hand, drawing them from your deck. Then you determine initiative. To determine initiative and to explain how that works, I need to explain the concept of the karma pool. This is your deck. Suppose this is your deck with your basic cards and your animal spirit cards. Some of these cards later will go to the discard pile. When cards go to the discard pile, they're out of the game. They are health points that you lost, unless their effects allow you to heal. Also, at the beginning of the game, you will form your karma pile following your karma pool, following the instructions on your basic card. So her initial karma pool is of 2 cards. At the beginning of the game, you draw 2 cards in that case, and you place them here. The area on top or in front of your deck directly is your karma pool. And cards that are there can be used for their karma effect to generate certain types of effects and to activate certain possibilities in the game. During the initiative step, each player draws a card, adds it to their karma pool, but while doing so, also, each player looks at the value of the card that was just drawn. The player with the highest value goes first. The first thing that you can do when you get to activate is to interact with your tome or to do something karma related. You can choose one action among 3 possible ones. You can choose during this part of your turn to draw an extra card, to draw yet another card, and to add it to your karma pool. Maybe you're strengthening your karma pool, preparing for some powerful action that you want to perform. Or you can turn a page of your tome in either direction, or you can choose to perform an action in your tome, in which case you need to pay the corresponding amount in karma. These numbers, they look calligraphically very nice, but it took us a while to figure out that that was a 4 and not a plus, that is a 7 and not some sort of cute stroke of paintbrush. These numbers are a case in which functionality was sacrificed to aesthetics. In any case, after a while, you get to learn these numbers, and that's the number of karma cards that you need to use to be able to activate a certain effect. When you use a card that's used here as a keyword, the card is not discarded, that doesn't go away, it goes to the bottom of your deck. So this is an action that consumes energy temporarily, but is not a wound. The card goes back to the bottom of your deck, you will be able to use that card again, and you still have the health point that the card represents. So first thing that you do, you either gain extra karma, or you turn a page of your tome, or you use an action of your tome. This is something that, again, I like to think of as interacting with your tome. Then you get to pick up a token, and you can perform the action corresponding to the token. You can move or attack, depending on the token that you selected. Characters move on the board, and they can move up to their full movement allowance when they choose to move, and there are some terrain effects. For example, if you're using a road, it's fast, you move faster, When you move, at the end of your move, you have to determine the orientation in which you are. This is important for attacks, it is important for some effects, but as you move, you can change orientation freely. Then also, if later you attack, you can change orientation before you attack. That's for movement. It's pretty much that simple. The only important thing is that if you're adjacent to an opponent and you decide to move to an area that is not adjacent to the opponent, you have to exert. Exert in this game is another technical term, and that means that you discard a card from your deck and it goes to your discard pile. You lose a point of life, a point of health. To my way, you got distracted and you got slapped, or you got a minor hit as you were moving away. There are also many other effects that will force you to exert, and other effects that will give you the choice to exert to boost up a certain power or to activate a certain ability. But movement is pretty basic. So this is what you do if you have the move token. If you're attacking, oh, this is cool. If you're attacking, then you choose a card from your hand and you simply perform an attack which will cover the template indicated here. Suppose I'm using this card to attack, then the blaze, and you have to put the top of the template, you have to look at the top of the template in the direction in which the player is facing. So if I'm using that blaze with her, then her blaze hits, oh, let me get a little closer. Then the blaze will hit this hex here, and then we'll spread 1, 2, and 1, 2. So that hex, and then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and also there. But what's important is that that character would be caught in the blaze. Other cards would be would cover different areas. This card, for example, covered this hex, and this hex, and so on and so forth. And when you're attacking, you can turn in position to orient yourself where you want the attack to go. When you're attacking, the opponent gets a chance of playing a defense card. The effects of the defense cards are many. They may manage to reduce the effect, to annul the effect whatsoever, even to counterattack, counterstrike, and inflict some damage on the opponent. The idea still is that an attack generates a certain amount of damage points, the attacks. Once you have those, the opponent has to lose that number of health points, and that can be modified by defense. But once you have the final number of health points that the opponent loses, the opponent pays for the penalty by discarding a number of cards from his deck equal to that number. So you attack, that may be modified or annulled by defenses, and then the final damage needs to be taken in the form of cards discarded from the deck. Now, the game is not hard at all to learn. Somehow it took me a couple of turns to learn how to play it. Not to learn the rules, those are pretty obvious, but to figure out how to do relevant stuff with those rules. So I felt like I was implementing the steps of the game and not doing much. I was doing a small effect here, small effect there, bing, boom, boom, and not much else. And I was wondering, how does this work? It takes a couple of turns to get to learn your character, to become familiar with your character, what the character can do, what your animal spirit can do. Then you're like, oh, and you start figuring out combos, which are indeed pretty powerful. But you do have to get into the vision of accepting the fact that individual actions that your character may take are not all that awesome, but if you figure out a way to make your character work, then your character does do stuff which is very effective in terms of gameplay. There's a lot of damage, puts you in a good position, and is just crazy fun, because that's when you have the spectacular fantasy, Japanese-oriented action happening. My priestess, that's one of my favorite characters. When I play with the Fire Priestess at the beginning, I was just like, I felt like I was just lighting matches and turning on little fires here and there that did really nothing. Then I figured out how to combine setting part of the landscape on fire with pushing other people into that fire, making that fire explode, That kind of thing, that kind of chain of events is very effective, and when you pull it off, it is just fun to do. Other characters with different animal spirits were able to do similar crazy stuff. But again, do not worry if you pick up the game and at the beginning you can't figure out how to play it effectively, because the game has a lot of possibilities, a lot of options, a lot of fun, crazy effects that you can create. Just takes a turn or two. But when that happens, oh boy, that is really a fun situation, a fun game. Again, if you're thinking about it in terms of martial arts, the game may feel like, this is too weird. Think about it in terms of fantasy, and then you have blasts of energy, crazy animal spirits, all sort of things happening. The game has a lot of possibilities, a lot of options. The characters seem pretty powerful, all of them. I haven't played it a million times. I don't know if somebody will figure out a combination of a certain character with a certain spirit that will completely break the game. I haven't seen that happening. I've seen that combos of characters with spirits seem to be fairly well balanced. Moments of tension, definitely, as you see your deck becoming thinner and thinner, and you're trying to come back from that, which is not impossible. There are times in which I've seen my deck being much thinner than I would have liked it to be, much thinner than deck to the opponent, and I was still able to pull off a couple of powerful combos. Luck is a factor to an extent, because players all start with powerful decks, and you go through those decks in a way that you can control to an extent. You have some effect. I haven't seen a game in which a player never got anything good in their hand, was never able to put together some good attack or some good defense. Even if at the beginning you really can't figure out how to attack effectively, you can still put up a good defense as you figure that out. And luck, as I said, is a factor. Yes, you can have the time in which you got a hand of cards and you have no defenses whatsoever, and the opponent pulls off a mighty strike that's a huge blow to you, a lot of damage. May happen. It's unlikely that it will happen so often that if you're a good player and you have a good strategy, that will affect you. It may happen once, but then if you plan well, if you start manipulating your hand well using game effects, that should not happen often enough to become a problem. So, in conclusion, I enjoyed playing Yashima. At the beginning I was a little lukewarm about it. It grew on me as I kept playing it. I think it is a game with a lot of possibilities. I think the good thing is that it can be further expanded by adding more characters, more animal spirits. As is, what you have is a pretty replayable game. By using different characters and different combinations, you can change the way the characters act vastly. I like the system behind it. I like the spells, I like the moves, I like the templates that tell you where the strike goes and where your energy will affect things. It's a simple way, but very effective one, to give you a strong tactical feel. Yashima is a game that I enjoyed very much. It is on Kickstarter right now, or was on Kickstarter, or will be on Kickstarter. If it is on right now and you want to know more about the game, you can go on Kickstarter, have a look at the page, and well, I hope that this video gave you a sense of whether or not the game may be for you. I know it is a game that is for me. I have the prototype right now. I will definitely enjoy having a full copy. But in any case, prototype or not, this is a game that I would like to be in my collection and that I believe I will keep in my collection for a long time.